Oh, now it says live.
Okay, so it's live.
Don't chuckle. Don't do that.
Tanya, you facilitating today, so
No, I thought because you weren't gonna be here.
I'm
You're
not gonna be here
here.
the whole time. Okay. Hey everyone. You see how black women are. You see how amazing that we are.
Thank you. We are amazing. Yes.
I am Dr. Ifetaya Ojelade live from a place other than my house, as as you can see by the fake background. And we are here in celebration of the life of our sister, Assata Shakur. I am joined today with Tandi Zizwe Chimaranga, who is out in Tombak territory and also known as Los Angeles, California. And I'm also joined by Dr. Corey Claiborne, who is an associate professor of African American literature at Morehouse College. And I think this is a good time, a fitting time in the midst of everything that's going on for us to have the celebration of Assata in her transition to the realm of the ancestors. So we're going to do a little bit different today. I'm going to start out the conversation, and I know Dr. Claiborne has to pop off, and then I have to pop off. And then Tandi, hopefully you can finish the conversation for us. Want to start out with just a kind of reflection for each of you in terms of Assata. Where has she shown up in your life? Like, what did you first learn about Assata and what she means, not only to people of African descent in general, but what she means to specifically Black women?
Hmm. I want to say that I absolutely don't remember and didn't know anything about the breakout when it happened in '79. But I want to say maybe it was '85 that we heard she was in Cuba. I'm not really sure. But then the book came out, which I believe was '87. I might be wrong on my dates because it's early. I'm not really in my journalist bag because I
It
just
was
woke.
87.
But
It was
no,
87. Okay.
it was '87. So at that point, when it came out, heard about her, or was clear on her, read the book, blew my mind. Like, wow, this really happened. This is a real person. She is here with us now, and this is monumental. Broke out of prison for real, and now she's in Cuba. And from that time until now, y'all hear my cat?
I do.
She acting like somebody stabbed her. Anyway, um, yeah, from that time until now, just her love of black people, her love of black people, an internationalist, absolutely committed to the destruction of capitalism, absolutely. Always talking about how we've got to have an economic system that not only does not exploit people, but does not exploit the earth. The people who are running the earth running the planet are destroying it. And like I said, again, an internationalist, but just so committed to black people in the United States. Understand she's an African woman, understand she's been given haven by an predominantly African country, but she always talked about how she missed black folks in the US in particular, missed our culture, missed the company of black women, the way we would laugh, make $1 out of 15 cents. And I just thought that was just so, just this is what commitment and sacrifice and love of your people looks like. And yes, she was away from her loved ones, but there were many opportunities for them to connect. Her babies, her daughter, her grandbabies. Uh, I'm not really clear if her attorney Aunt Evelyn, if her mom, her grandmom, her sister were ever able to visit her, but I know that her daughter and her grandbabies were. So even though technically, or maybe not technically, she was not free to travel from Cuba for fear of being snatched by the U.S., could not come back here, could not be with her children, her daughter and grandchildren on a daily basis. There were still opportunities afforded to her, and they never got her. The fact that they never got her, there was a particular freedom. There was a particular freedom there. And But again, that's what love of the people, commitment, and sacrifice looks like. And that is what has always stayed with me.
What about you, Corey? When did you first learn about this?
And I found my copy from the book from college, actually.
Hey,
Um,
look in good shape.
I
it's
know
in
that's an
good shape,
excellent
but it's
shape.
written up. And one of the things I'll say is that for me in college, having her entered into the conversation with the autobiography of Malcolm X and Brown's Taste of Power, and Eldridge Cleaver for better or worse,
Right.
Soul on Ice, like all of those things, and getting to read these books in community, and Angela Davis too. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
mention how important it was for me for her to be a woman, for her to be a Black woman, for her to have talked about growing up with her grandparents in Wilmington, North Carolina. A lot of the things that I understood, even
Mm-hmm.
though she was born in New York, a lot of the things that I understood about her life and
Mm-hmm.
striving, and these same people that taught her to fight back, like coming back from her grandfather losing the family home to white people, and then going back and rebuying that same home so that they could live in. I feel like everything about her story spoke to really just how essential Black people were in the civil rights movement and the Black Power movement more specifically. And I think that, so like I said, from college, every once in a while she would pop up, right? Like, I remember listening to comments like Water for Chocolate and getting to hear her voice and how exciting that was, even though it was just a small interlude at the end. And I'm like, she
Mm-hmm.
lives, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
though they literally tried to kill her, she's still out there living, right? And having gone to Cuba myself, I mean, I knew we weren't going to see her, but that was always the hope. It's like, well, maybe we
Because of
gonna
your
turn this
son.
corner and she gonna be right there. We gonna have a chance to, just hug her, thank her, all those kind of stuff. And so, one of the things I hope and know that part of her freedom journey will be for us to get her exonerated on these charges that she did not commit. They couldn't convict her during her life of all these other bank robberies and all this kind of stuff that she
Exactly.
said she
Yeah.
did. And then to
Yeah.
go right back and say, oh, but now she just murdered. No, she didn't. So let's like exonerate her record. And like I said, I think she lives on in so many different ways and so many
Yeah.
different art forms.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, Tunde, I think it was you that first put it in our chat that she had made her transition. And my first comment when I saw that was like, wow, because I would say the first book that helped me really get clear is the autobiography of Malcolm X. And then the second
Right.
one was Assata.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember reading that at a very young age. I think I was 19, but I make up stuff, in terms of age. I was 19, 21, and I was barely legal at the time. And I just remember it having an impact. And I would not have been able to articulate it like this, but now I realize that it was significant because she was a Black woman. I would not have said that or thought about it in that way. But to
Mm-hmm.
have that balance of having Brother Malcolm and then having Sister
Right. Right.
Asada, I think was significant for me. And what I think is even more significant is all the pressure that the United States put on trying to capture her and accuse her of these charges where she was clear that she did not commit any of these crimes. And I love the fact that Black people were like, it does not matter what you say. Because I think one of the first things that happens with our people is this engagement of this respectability politics. So the first thing that the media does and the first thing the government does is try to paint us as criminals and drug dealers or drug users. And so as much as they've tried to paint Asada as this criminal, Black people have always been clear. Y'all are lying. we know we know what's up. And I've always been focused on the fact that she should be free. Go ahead, Tandy.
Because I monitor social media. That's why I'm on it all the time. I'm monitoring and researching. Right. The breadth, the depth, and the breadth, the just the wide broad support for Assata, whether you are steeped in history and black radical politics or not. She say she ain't do it, she ain't do it, because you know them police be lying.
And that's
Whether
literally how
whether
people
you know that's
are.
whether
Yeah,
you know the intricacies of the case or not. Oh, she said she didn't do it. Yeah,
she didn't
they
do it.
probably lying. Which is why we don't give a damn what Cash App Patel says. The fact that you just see, okay, we wasn't gonna say nothing, but now the fact that you told us not to mourn her, oh, we gonna mourn her now.
And I think that that's really interesting, and that becomes the complexity of people of African ancestry and people of Indian ancestry in this country, because you've got someone like, oh, I didn't get to tell y'all. So last week we saw Kamala Harris. I was at a banquet and they were telling us, hey, we got the special speaker, and the next thing we know they say Vice President Kamala Harris, and everybody's like, oh shit, and she comes up on the stage.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got someone like her that has this Indian ancestry, and regardless of whether or not you fully agree with her politics, that's very different. Her trajectory is very different than when with this dude. I just remember, what's his first name again?
Cash Cash App, we call him Cash App, but
I know y'all doing that. What's the
Cash for
real
But
short.
it's
name?
probably short for something we can't
No,
pronounce,
it's
and he's trying
Okay.
to make himself Englishify his
KASHYAP.
name. He calls himself Cash. It's
Yeah,
probably some.
Okay.
Who
it's
knows what his name actually is?
But
KASHYAP.
when I saw him and Kashap, I'm thinking Kashap Patel. And when I saw him, and just the audacity and the nerve to tell people of African ancestry that we should not mourn Assata, I think it goes again with this idea of pitting people of color against themselves, against each other. When it's like, you know what I really want to say is, I don't know his history, I don't know his ancestry, but what I know is, because of people like Assata and what folks did during that time, is that allowed specifically his community to be able to come to the United States. So he's the kind of person I would tell you, you need to take several seats, sir.
You need to take several seats, but I'm and as a journalist, I shouldn't say this because I have not checked it. I haven't been interested to, but I'm almost positive on the census he checks white or Caucasian.
Huh?
Looking at it, I'm almost positive he checks white or Caucasian because he's Indian. No, because that's how a lot of folks come here. That's how they are identified or are seen or are told to identify. It's clear if you're looking at how he's moving now. He thinks he's white. He thinks he's going to Valhalla when he dies, and gonna meet Charlie Kirk there. That's what he said. I see you in Valhalla. So it's clear he's white identified. But all Indian people or South Asian people, just like our community has. I hate using that phrase. Black people are not a monolith. Neither are a lot of these other groups, but they are incentivized in many ways to identify as white and to move as white and are treated as white. So
And I think that becomes this conversation. I see Dr. Claiborne, you want to jump in and say something. I
No,
think
I
that
mean,
becomes
but
a
Asian is
conversation.
their identification. And the broader problem to me is what Asian means in this country. And for a lot of people, Asian means white, right? Like,
exactly.
and that's not
Mhm.
just Indian, that's people,
Right.
Chinese,
So yeah.
Japanese. They also think that they're white, right? Like, and
Yeah.
that is what the country does. And sometimes it's just because of all these people adopting Asian babies. But, you have a lot of this, like, oh, but because they're not black, we'll just put them in this category.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and I don't want us to get off track by talking about him, but I just saw that little thing, and I just was
Hmm.
really proud of the reaction of our folks, because our folks were like, whatever.
And kept it moving.
Anyway, back in on Asada. And I think that there's something really significant about Asada in terms of being on this little island that is only 90 miles off the coast of the United States. And she was there, Tanda, you probably know as a journalist, how long was she there? 40 years?
From
50?
well, She
What year did she
Let
go?
me see. They
see
got
that
a
that's
timeline in the
it.
book.
We're
Let
not
me see what they
sure.
say.
She didn't get to she didn't get to Cuba exactly in 79.
Okay.
So she's been out 46 years.
Okay. Well, she's been gone from the United States for 40,
46
over
years.
40 years.
So she's been
And I think
out
that
of prison
Right.
for 40
So
something years.
79, she went to
Mhm.
Cuba.
and I think there's something really complex to just even be able to look at in this idea that this country does so much to people of African ancestry that we get criminalized for standing up for our rights.
Absolutely.
It's not like Asada was saying, let's go out and sell drugs, that she was going out and saying, let's go harm people or kill people. These were young people in their 20s that were saying, we want equality, we want breakfast
More freedom.
for small children, we want freedom.
You got a
We
10-point platform. These are all the things we want.
and you would think that
And
they
they
were
were
saying,
criminalized. They were crushed.
yeah,
The full
um,
weight of the U.S. government war was declared on them.
because they asked for equality,
Hmm.
which speaks a lot to even just what's going on now. And I'm wondering, what can we do? Like, what lessons do you think that we can take from Asada and the work that she did, kind of transforming it, not from her 20 something year old self, but as she progressed? How do we take that and use that as guideposts for what's going on right now?
Hmm. Well, you're looking at if she was given safe haven for a minimum of 40 years in this small 90-mile away place called Cuba, which also has had war declared against them, an economic war. Since about 1959, 1960, there has been a blockade of aid of goods and services that has been spearheaded by the United States. And it has affected Cuba in terms of the allies of the United States. They are not able to get certain things. They've been relying upon themselves. Unfortunately, I've never took the opportunity to take myself down there and see for myself. But all the reports we get, even though the Cubans are relying upon themselves, it's very, very hard down
Mhm.
there. They don't have all of the amenities, all of the luxuries that we have here in the US. And so, because it's hard, even though they've got world first class medicine, medical facilities, and they train people to be doctors there, yet and still, it is still very, very hard. It is still unfair. And again, when we talk about Asada and her internationalism, this is something Cuba has always provided solidarity, even though it's been hard for them, even though they could be considered poor. And so, as part of our revolutionary responsibility, revolutionary morality, we have to do what we can while we are here in the belly of the beast to ensure that Cuba continues to stand, that they get what they need. We have to advocate for an end to the blockade, right? Because Assad was not the only fugitive
Mhm.
that had been given safe haven over there. There are other black folks over there, some of them from the 60s and 70s, right? So we have to continue to be internationalists while at the same time advocating for our own struggle here in the US, advocating for our own people here in the US. And I think that the major thing that we need to understand from Assata's life and from everybody involved in the Black Liberation Movement, but particularly the Black Panther Party, we cannot underestimate what these people will do. We cannot underestimate what this US government would do. There was a swath of our community that saw this whole ICE immigration thing as, oh, that's Latinos. We're going to sit this one out. We're going to stay out of it. That don't involve us. And we just saw in Chicago helicopters, the military grappling in like they were coming out of the helicopters on grappling hooks like they were in Somalia or Sudan in Black Hawks. And this is an apartment complex in Chicago where they rounded up everybody, claiming they were looking for about 6 people. Rounded up, handcuffs, breaking down doors, separating children from their parents, zip ties, putting them in U-Haul vans and interrogating them. They just Trump said he was going to Chicago. They went to Chicago. This is what they did. They're in Memphis now. So, and I talk as much ish online as anyone, but I have to admit, I'm gonna keep it 100. Every now and then, I am still shocked and horrified by what these people do. And so I need y'all to remind me too. These people are capable of anything. So we have to remember that.
Well, Dr. Claiborne, I know that you got to get ready to
Yeah.
go. Jump in. What should we be taking from Assata?
I mean, uh, Cuba was a haven, but it wasn't, right? Like, so one of the things that she talks about was, on the song for Assata clip, and she's like, I've never been free.
Mm,
I'm not free here. I'm not, and free, and I think that that's not a strike against the Cuban government. It's the fact
right.
that, especially as Black women, we are constantly. I think Coretta Scott King said that freedom has to be fought and won in every generation, right? Like it is nothing. We don't ever step off the gas. We don't ever stop keeping our head on swivel. Like just like these, ICE agents rappelling down into this apartment building. And I'm not saying work and live your life scared. But what
Right.
she reminds me of that your innocence, especially in this country, is you can't take that for granted. You can't take it for granted that you weren't doing anything or that the law says that this is going to happen this way. So I feel like what we need to learn is that we are the ones like her that we need to constantly fight for our freedom because she constantly fought for her freedom. And I don't think we have the right to give up on that.
Okay.
Hmm.
Thank you. Esty
All right.
jumping in.
All right. I'll
Hi,
see y'all
Dr.
later.
Claiborne.
All right, Corey.
Hold on one second. I'm telling them that Esty's
Corey.
here.
Corey said, "Keep your head on a swivel." Eh,
Um, the thing I keep saying, and Esty, this is actually a good spot for Esty to jump in the conversation because the thing that I keep saying is, I think what we have to remember, hey girl, we got to clearly remember that we are dealing with sociopaths,
okay.
psychopaths, whichever
Evil.
one you want to say. And so there is nothing that surprises me. Nothing. You can say something and you are not going to get shock and awe out of me. Because when you have folks that are not dealing in spirit, who are completely disconnected from their soul, and that are criminals. So that I don't know. Have you ever heard of the term? Actually, let me break this down in a different way. Let's go psychological for a second. Have you
Okay.
ever heard of the term criminogenic thinking?
No.
Okay, we got to talk about this for a second. So there are some people that are what do you want to say, there's some people that just commit crimes, it's a crime of opportunity, crime of convenience, but they're not really criminals. And then all of us know that person where you like, let me just hide my stuff, you can't come to the house because
They just rotten.
you just rotten to the core, right?
Rotten core. Hmm.
And that kind of rotten to the core that we would call is criminogenic thinking. Like they can't think of nothing good to do. It's always from a criminal
It's always
mindset.
scheming.
It's
Always
always
scheming.
scamming, always scheming, always like no empathy for other people. That is called criminogenic thinking.
Mm.
Now, if you have folks that want to cut Medicaid so they can take those funds and give tax cuts to their friends, we say that's politics. We say that's capitalism. It's criminogenic thinking.
Hmm.
I need y'all to follow me. There are a
Oh,
lot of things
I'm
that
with
we
you.
are seeing here that is
Hmm.
criminogenic thinking. Criminogenic thinking does not change.
So
Criminal.
when you
Go ahead.
say, I'm hearing the word genic in there.
Hmm.
Talk to me about that word, that root, that suffix.
Right. And so what they will do is when you hear criminogenic thinking, it is often associated with group of folks. do you think that it's often associated with?
Well, we figured that, but I'm just saying, talking. Man, oh, no, we clear. Stop it.
Now,
Knock
if
it
you
off.
watching this and you confused or whatever about what I just said and why they just laughed, then you need to go watch something else because you ain't with us. You're not with us. You're not with us.
Be with us.
You got to be with this. So, when you're talking about criminogenic thinking, it is base thinking. So, I'm not going to associate it with genes because I'm not going to do that. I think it is
Okay.
problematic. Okay.
Uh-huh.
But
It is
when you're
base.
thinking of it as just baseline, your baseline is I'm in Estee's house and I'm trying to figure out how I can take that little crystal thing that she got over there because she may miss it. I'm at Tandi's and I just heard Tandi hit the lotto and she got $50,000. I'm going to figure out how I'm going to get at least 25 of that from her,
Well,
if not 49.
okay. But no, I wanna, like I said, I want to hear about this genic. You're
That is
saying baseline,
baseline.
but is
That
it
is the
going to be more
baseline.
than baseline?
We can say, so if we want to go from an EFOP perspective, we would say that it's spirit or your lack of
Mm-hmm.
of engagement with spirit. If we want to go from an ancestral perspective, we can say if your ancestors decided that they did not want to work and they thought what was going to be a good idea is that they was going to go steal somebody else's land and
Okay,
then
so that's
go
what
to
I'm
another,
getting
huh?
at. How is okay? Groupthink, right?
That's not genetic bait. That's a different thing. But
Well, see,
go
that's
ahead.
what I'm asking. That's why I'm asking. That's why I was asking you about that root of genic. This
Because
shows
you
up. This is, I mean, for clearly for our experience, it's shown up in one particular group. But
right.
is that how it usually or traditionally is? Criminogenic, criminogenic, criminogenic.
I I think the root of it and then the actuality of it's two different things. So I don't
Mhm.
think that's why I know where you're trying to get me to go. I don't think that it's
Okay.
working that way. I think what is happening is there is a set of environmental factors
Hmm.
that will
Reinforce.
reinforce that behavior. So you keep getting
Okay.
reinforced because you're doing criminal behavior and nobody's stopping you. You get convicted of 30 something felony offenses and you become the president of the United States. It just reinforces I'm going to do more criminal
Mhm.
behavior.
And
That's
I
very
got that nature
mhm,
versus nurture. I feel you on that,
mhm.
but it makes me wonder because there's also epigenetics. I'm gonna just throw that out there. I'm just throwing it out there. You can throw it back if you want. Whoever. I'm talking about the audience, not just you. You
Mhm.
can throw it back if you want, but the whole epigenetics thing.
So if you think about it, and that's why I said so. I was saying it in a different way because if I say a big word like epigenetics, and Essie gonna be saying my mama who live in Sunflower, Alabama, don't use the term genetics.
Tell your mama who live in Sunford, white folk ain't right. She'll know what we talking about. Just
So
break it down like that. Go on and say it. White folk
she don't use that, but
ain't right.
a basic way. So what Tanya's trying to get me to say is like, so if we think about stuff from an epigenetic
I'm
perspective,
not trying to get you to say it.
we know that
I'm not,
in terms of genes, certain things get passed down. I look like my mama. I look exactly like my mama. My child look exactly like me. That's a way that our facial features get passed down genetically. And what we know in the study of epigenetics, that there are certain behaviors, there are certain mental health conditions that can get passed down in the genes because the genes transform. So one of the big examples that people use all the time is that we look at people that were survivors of the Jewish Holocaust. What we know is if they had PTSD because they were in the concentration camps, we can often see that their grandchildren will have anxiety because there's a change in their gene expression. And so they, even though their grandchildren did not grow up
experience the
in
whole.
Nazi Germany or Nazi area Europe, and they were not in concentration camps, they still have this anxiety. So it is often applied in that way, but we can also apply that to people of African descent. So where Tandi is wanting me to go And I was just saying it in a different way, that if you are born and bred from criminals, thieves, and rapists, then and they got criminogenic thinking, then you will probably too have that similar gene expression. That's what she wanted me to say to y'all.
Be susceptible to it.
You
Now,
could be susceptible to that, yes.
okay, changing the discussion only slightly. We're gonna get to you, Esty. I promise. I'm gonna shut my mouth. I just want to say though, it was Baba Keith Baird. I don't know what his traditional name was, but Baba Keith Baird, who either taught at Clark, maybe it was Morris Brown. Anyway, he was teaching there in Atlanta at one of the colleges. He presented at an Encobra conference many years ago, and he was the first person for me to talk about epigenetics. I'm not sure if he used the word epigenetics, but he talked about during enslavement, the transatlantic slave trade, the conditions that African people endured in the hold of those ships. Our bodies had to conserve salt. And so we come forward today and we wonder why Black people have, one of the things he was positing, have such high incidences of high blood pressure. It's because in addition to the fast food at McDonald's, our bodies have already been retained, are already conditioned to retain salt. So then when we take it in sodium, so when we take it in elsewhere, like in fast food, where it's in goo gobs of amounts, and then you got stress and being Black and etc. living in this country, our blood pressure skyrockets. And that was the first time I had ever heard that. It just blew my mind. It just blew my mind.
I
Talking
mean,
about the changing of the DNA or the changing of the genes based upon an experience.
and I haven't read that research. I don't know about that research.
Mhm.
I think just the part about the stress and the levels of stress that people of African ancestry have in this country, we know that that's going to have an impact on heart disease,
Mhm.
and increase your blood pressure. Here's the other thing, and Esty, go after this, but this is the one that we don't talk about at all.
Mhm.
Think about it in terms of gum disease too. The
Mhm.
number of Black folks that get is, I don't see it as popular now, but people that get those grills,
Ooh.
people that don't go to the dentist regularly because they don't have health care.
Mhm.
And what we don't realize is the more that we don't have access to health care and the more that we are doing stuff, we're not taking care of our oral health. Most of the time, people don't realize that there's a direct link to your oral health and heart disease. They don't
Mhm.
realize that. And so when you put in them grills in your mouth and
And
you making
keeping them
those
in.
and keeping those grills in your mouth and you're making those pockets around your gum line, then the likelihood that you will have heart disease exponentially increases. Last one, I promise you, I can't tell you the number of people that I am seeing that are in their 30s of our people that actually have diabetes.
Hmm.
Like that old school diabetes where people are getting stuff amputated.
Shit.
A number of people. And I hate to say it that way, but you remember you like when we were little, you did like the old folks would have like an arm or a leg or a toe amputated and stuff like that. There's a number of young people that are having that. And
They got sugar.
these things are directly related to the amount of stress that we are experiencing. So we can blame it on the food. There's all these arguments of blaming it on the food, but there's other things in there. Anyway, we done got way off track because we were trying to talk about Assata.
Well,
Let's go back.
one thing that I was thinking about is that the Cuban medical system is world class. It is top tier, despite what the country is going through. And Asada passed in Havana, the capital. So it just made me think, they said she passed at the age of old, she was 78, old age and health conditions. And I was like, well, if Cuba couldn't save her,
I mean, but 78. I mean, you done did some living
that's a
at
good,
78.
hey, that's a good run, especially for someone like her. That's a good
Yeah,
run.
you have done some living.
Yes,
Esty jumping in this
absolutely.
conversation. And
Yeah,
y'all,
don't
I
let us
gotta go in a few
monopolize.
minutes. I gotta go in a few minutes, but then I'm gonna pop off and then I'll let y'all finish up the conversation. But go ahead,
Come
Esty.
on,
I want to hear
Esty.
what you
Come
gotta
on.
say.
I mean, well, I
I know we went all over the place.
yeah, I'm like, I'm
We're going
not
back
even
to
sure
Asada.
where we are. So,
We're going back to
brilliant,
Asada.
Back to Asada.
brilliant. Um, I think the thing that has been sitting with me the most is that that my peers and those younger than me um have, I think, a different relationship with how they were politicized. And so it's been very interesting to have new conversations about Mama Asada. Um and For me, that was a central part of my shift in consciousness.
Mhm.
And understanding what had happened to her and how she had been positioned in the movement because of COINTELPRO. Um, and so I think that, we think about uh, the work for freedom and liberation in very different ways for younger people now. Um, and so I think it's really been great, honestly, to have conversations that are emerging to allow her genius to reach more of our folks. So it has reminded me about what true ancestral power is. That when we call these names, it really does allow them to live on. It does allow them to transfer their power in ways that you cannot in life alone. And so, in some ways, I've been encouraged
Uh-oh.
You're frozen,
He
FD.
frozen.
We lost you for a minute.
He frozen.
You stopped with "I've been encouraged." Uh-oh.
Okay,
Oh,
was that me or y'all saw that too?
we
Okay.
can hear you. Okay, go
Yes.
ahead. You say in some way you've been encouraged.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. For me, it's been encouraging to see her witness be able to support other folks in their fight for liberation in a new way.
Yeah.
Mm.
God. Okay, so how we got off track
Okay.
is we were talking about,
Mama J.
and I'm gonna throw the question out, and then I'm gonna pop off, and I'm gonna let y'all finish.
Okay.
But we were
Oh,
talking
question
about like
on
what are
me.
the things that we can learn from Asada and her struggle and the way that
Mm,
she moved, particularly as she got older and matured. What can we learn from what she did and apply it, particularly of what's going on right now? So that's the question as you think about it. Love y'all. I'm gonna see y'all next month. Real quick, y'all. I know this is in the middle. Sorry, but we're gonna be reviewing Dr. Kendra McCrae, who couldn't be with
Asha.
us here today. Her new book, it is Essential Soldiers. It is on NYU Press. I can't put anything in the chat, or otherwise I would put it in the chat. But I will make sure that when this goes on Facebook,
I can
I'll
do it.
put it on later. So if y'all want to follow along and be able to be in the conversation, we encourage you to get the book and join us next month. All right. I will see y'all next time. Take
All
care.
right, sis. Take care.
Bye bye.
So, Tandi, I would love to hear your thoughts about what new has emerged.
What new has emerged?
That's what she just asked us, right? What new lessons? No, that's not
New
the question.
lessons have emerged. Well, Asada has left us an incredible body of work. And I'm not just talking
Mhm.
about her autobiography, numerous interviews. Um, when we first found out where she was, so many people would go down there and interview her. Activists would interview her and
Mhm.
bring back the tape. News organizations would interview her and bring that back. So we can find the print of that. We can find the videos. And she also would write from Cuba. She
Mhm.
would, when I think the Pope was coming for a visit. I know the Pope came to visit Cuba, but I'm not sure if it coincided with this bounty that was put on her head by
Mhm.
the FBI. I remember she had an address to the Pope pleading her case to him so that he would know what was up. Of course,
Mhm.
Democracy Now! Has covered that. Um, so, she has always, when we talk about what lessons,
Mhm.
you know, she was a BLA, Black Liberation Army soldier,
Mhm.
and she was accused of numerous actions um, tied to the Black Liberation Army. She's over in Cuba now. She's not really doing armed actions, not in a position to even to be accused of committing armed actions. So it's more of an educational, teaching, and some would say diplomatic role, right? And
Mhm.
so remembering those aspects, how important they are, which is what I alluded to earlier when she talked about the importance of an economic system, socialism, right? Something that is not going to exploit people or the land. She, in Eyes of the Rainbow, she talked about she was raised on a diet of anti-communism, and now that she's actually living in Cuba, she sees what it's like, how countries are able to maneuver, how it's a necessity, how, what did she say, Cuba? It's not a society at war with itself, the way the
Yes.
U.S. is. Um, People are more human, she says, despite the fact that Cuba is under this blockade. People
Mhm.
are more human in this society. Why is that? It's because it's not a society built on exploitation, on ruthless
Yeah.
exploitation, such as the United States. And so her critique of capitalism, her consistent critique of capitalism, her consistent reminder to us of something that is not exploitive,
Mhm.
how socialism, how she was able to find out for herself what socialism and communism actually is, the importance of how we relate to each other as well as the environment,
Mhm.
Black women's central place in all of this. Those are some of the things that have more come to the fore now that she's not under constant attack as a Black Liberation Army soldier, in my opinion.
Mm. Yeah, I think talking about her as a person, I remember uh, an interview that I heard where she talked about the decision to be a parent. Um, and
The
she had
what? The what to be a parent?
the decision to be a parent.
Uh huh.
And she talked about how initially she was thinking that she would not be a parent because of, right, like, do I really want to bring a child into this evil world where, I am personally positioned to be at war, um and to know what it is to have to stay in a space of fighting, um and that for her it was, talking to her own elders and really thinking about life and the gift of life, and not just the gift of life, that our belief of the wealth of our children, and belief that there can be a future, and belief that we can have a liberated future, and the belief that for her, if I want to experience the fullness of life, can I be open to, what how my own life might unfold, versus cutting myself off from
Mm,
certain pieces. And I think those interviews have been really powerful, because it for me has not just taught me the power of being a warrior for black folks and for black freedom, but also the texture and the beauty of being like, and I can live life and do that too. um and the importance of centering that and doing that from a whole place, whatever that looks like for whoever we are, and whatever that means, right?
mm-hmm,
um that can be anything for anybody. That for some people will be the choice not to have a child, but the reminder, right, that the decisions that we make about how we take care of each other
mm-hmm,
are not just decisions for liberations, but decisions to live well, and to allow life to be full. And so that those are some of the things that I think of
mm-hmm,
as lessons that I've learned from Mama Sada.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So many conversations are going to continue to be held
Hmm.
around the lessons that we can learn from her life.
Hmm.
She gave us a gift in actuality. Her
Mhm,
life and her passing. Now her passing, it's a
mhm,
gift to us.
Mm-hmm.
It really is a gift to us.
It is. I completely agree with that.
Yeah,
Um,
this is a gift to us. I'm just thinking though, because people say, well, she wasn't really free because she couldn't see her kids. But going back to what you just said, it's reminding me. Did Asada? I guess, of course, the whole prison experience. She was okay. She was okay with. Surely she didn't think she'd be found innocent. Surely she didn't think
right.
she was going to be able to walk out of of these various trials, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about escape. I'm talking about being found not guilty. Surely she didn't think that she was going to be able to go home and raise her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
If we understand the circumstances of how her child was conceived, I'm quite sure she knew or thought that she would be separated from her child by prison bars. She
Right.
had to have thought about that possibility after
Yeah.
going from, I don't think, I'm not sure I want to bring a life into this world to, I'm going to go ahead and do this. So you juxtapose that possible reality with the actual reality of being in Cuba and not being around your child every single day. Some people are saying, well, she wasn't really free. Mm, she was freer.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Asada's actual words. What did she say? She said, I've never been free. Okay, but she was freer. She was freer.
Mm.
And that's the kind of thing that I want people to see.
I really like what you're saying, Tandy. I really like what you're saying because it really positions freedom not at a place where we arrive, but almost like freedom in process.
Freedom
Right?
becoming.
Yeah.
Freedom becoming.
That
Yeah.
freedom is evolving, emerging. Um I like uh the idea of that because don't it feel true like for all of us, like how free are we really? They going in apartment buildings and zip tying children out of their sleep, you know what I'm saying, like.
Well, out here in Cali, this is where Black August began in the
Mhm.
California prison system. And the folks out here have always said, people like us, we're in general population. People like them, they in segregation or solitary. But what they call us, the free worlders,
Mhm.
we're really Gen Pop.
Mm.
We're actually Gen Pop in many ways.
Right. Yeah, it's just invisible bars.
Invisible
um
bars. Some of the strongest bars there are the invisible bars.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think that that for me does really remind us of the power that Mama Asada possessed to dare to get more free, dare to be free in a different way. Um and to have the nerve to live like that. Like I think that's the other
He had
thing.
the nerve. He
Had the nerve to
had
live for
nerve,
20
huh?
years like that. That's an incredible witness to the power and the importance of her warrior spirit and the witness of, and when I get more freedom I'm gonna keep it, you know.
I'm going to get free.
Hmm.
I got free. I'm gonna keep it.
And I'm gonna keep it.
Because her grandmama, she said when her grandmama had dreams, everybody stopped. What she say? What she say? What she say?
Mhm.
Her grandmama told her she was coming home, and then her grandmama said, "Don't get used." I'm reminding you, don't get used to that place. Asala's like, "Say less, mom. Say less." As a matter of fact, tomorrow. No, I'm just playing. She said her grandmama called her the night before she escaped. Well, as a matter of fact, never mind. But yeah, Injamile can't join us. Corey had to hop off. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I guess Ifetai had to hop off and stay
Yeah,
off.
she did. She did.
What last words do you have?
I like that we're doing this before we talk about essential soldiers, because Mama Asada for me is a soldier par excellence.
Mhm.
is the model, an exemplar version of what it was to be a soldier for Black people, to be a soldier for Black freedom, to be a soldier for true Black community and solidarity.
Mm.
Um, and so I just invite, if you are a person who is not engaged or has not had the opportunity to hear some of the interviews, to read some of the texts, to read some of her writing, to have read her autobiography. I know what I have learned is that for some of us, really knowing her story, knowing her experience, and knowing the power of her work and how it has transformed all of us, um, um, is information that you can get more of, and I encourage you to get that. And I think stories like hers and the lived witness, not just what she said and what she wrote, but how she lived and what she taught us by her witness to life and freedom and the way she embodied it, is women like that, and the stories that we'll see in Essential Soldiers, that opens the way for us to learn how to try freedom on for size for ourselves.
Shay.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have anything more really to add to your piece. No need to embellish on your piece. I've said all that well, not all, but you know what I mean.
I was about to say, oh.
No, it hasn't been all, but maybe okay. So one last piece.
Uh,
One last piece. So
okay.
for those who have not seen Eyes of the Rainbow,
Mm.
please see Eyes of the Rainbow. Have you seen Eyes of the Rainbow?
I have seen parts of it. I have not seen all of it.
Mhm. If you're living in Cuba as Asada was, it is hard. You're not going to escape the influence of Lukumi Santeria Ifa. Because it's just baked in. But because of that, the influence of the spirituality on her, we are spiritual people
Yeah.
regardless, intuitively. But I think, of course, that just enhanced who she was anyway. Talking about, again, you know, she talked about the environment and
Mhm.
how she got it from her grandmama before she ever heard a lick of Spanish. Her
Mhm.
grandmama in North Carolina railing against how people are polluting, not taking
Mhm.
care of the earth. And then she goes to this beautiful island, which has done what it can to throw off the yoke of pollution of colonialism, of
Mhm.
imperialism, of capitalism. And it's bathing her in this tradition, in this Orisha tradition of
Mhm.
caring for the earth, because the earth is what sustains you. The land that you live on, where you lay your head, where you get your food, where you get the herbs that heal you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, an incredible gift. We've been gifted. This is an incredible gift. Asada Shakur was and is an incredible gift.
Is. Is.
I think he is an incredible gift to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need to shut up now, so
Yeah.
let me go on and hush. It's good to see you, sis.
It's good to see you too,
I think I
sis.
missed y'all last month, right?
You
I
did.
missed last
You
month. Yeah.
did.
Oh,
You did.
yes. Okay, so yeah, it's good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see
Good
you.
to see you too. Good to see you. And blessings to all of you. Thank you all for joining us. May Mama Asada's witness rise in power and rise to give us more power.
Ashe, Ashe. Oh.
Ashe. Ashe.
All right, so I'm gonna get up out of here.